What up, y'all? It's Bam Margera here. Some YouTube channel I never even heard of called Things Humans Do paid me to tell you to watch this video about me. So I hope it doesn't suck.
For the many fans of Bam Margera, his downfall has been a difficult thing to witness. In fact, you could say that Bam Margera has essentially become the human embodiment of everything that has gone wrong with the world since the early 2000s. And in this video, we are going to take a look at how it all happened.
Let's go.
Brandon Cole Margera was born on September 28, 1979 in Westchester, Pennsylvania. He was given the nickname Bam Bam by his grandfather at the age of just 3 years old, which is a reference to the crazy little kid from the Flintstones cartoon. This was due to his resemblance to the character and his propensity for running into walls and performing other antics in an effort to entertain his family. Looking back, Bam's seeking of attention via self-destruction started at a very young age. Brandon and his older brother Jess grew up in a loving middle-class household that wholeheartedly supported their natural talents. His mother, April Margera, worked as a hairdresser, while his father, Phil Margera, was a baker. Bam started skateboarding at the age of 7 along with his brother, although Jess would eventually move on to spending his time playing drums instead. Phil Margera caught on to Bam's natural talent for skateboarding early on, giving up on his own favorite pastime of watching football games to instead drive Bam around to every skate park and skate spot that he desired. Phil also owned a video camera, which was a rare, expensive luxury at the time, and began filming Bam's skateboarding as his own newfound hobby. Bam continued his pursuit of skateboarding and started getting noticed by other skaters when he was just 10 years old. He landed his first sponsorship deal from Westchester's Fairman Skate Shop in 1992 when he was about 13. Bam began appearing in his very first skate videos around this time as a result of the sponsorship, most notably Eastern Exposure, which was released in 1993 and features a young Bam Margera ripping up the streets on his board. He was gifted his first video camera from his father in 1993 after enrolling in a digital media class that taught him the basics of video editing. He also met several new friends in school and around his neighborhood who would eventually help to change his life forever. It wasn't long before Bam began experimenting with filming his own skate videos that featured his local group of friends, which they all referred to as Team X. This was the birth of what would later be known as the main CKY crew, which featured Bam Margera, Ryan Dunn, Brandon DiCamillo, Chris Rabb, Rake Yon, and Bam's older brother Jess. The kids in the neighborhood who watched his videos were much more interested in the ones that featured stunts and pranks instead of just skateboarding. Bam soon realized that integrating his friends' stunts and pranks into his skate videos made them a lot more entertaining for other people, especially for those who didn't skate. This simple realization on how he could formulate his videos to appeal to a much larger audience would prove to be a pivotal moment in Bam's life and lead to his eventual transition from skateboarding and into film production. Bam Margera and Brandon DiCamillo worked together to compile and release the home videos under what would later be known as the CKY Video Series, which is an acronym for Camp Kill Yourself. The name was borrowed from an alternative rock band that Jess Margera is the co-founder and drummer of. Much of CKY's music is also featured in the videos. The first film in the series was called Landspeed Presents CKY, released on VHS tape on March 1st, 1999. The Landspeed name comes from a company that made skate wheels at the time, and was a subsidiary of skateboard distributor Tum Yato Inc.
What is this? I'm calling the police.
Bam eventually regained full rights to the video, re-edited and re-released it on DVD without the Landspeed name. For many people, including myself, this was their very first exposure to Bam Margera and the CKY crew. The next release was CKY2K, released on May 22, 2000. This video is notable because it features Bam's very first trip to Iceland. It also features the song Hyper Ballad by Bjork, which resulted in a copyright claim and an eventual cease and desist against distributing the video. This would be the first of many lawsuits against the CKY Video Series over the years. CKY2K sold over 1 million copies just through word of mouth and is perhaps the most valuable video in Bam's career for various other reasons, which we will get to later. The commercial release of CKY2K quickly taught Bam a hard lesson about doing business. Bam has publicly alleged that he was ripped off by skateboard distributor Tom Yedo after he found the video for sale while in Iceland, and then discovered that they were selling more copies of the video outside of America than what he was being paid for. This revelation temporarily caused problems between Bam and close friend Brandon DiCamillo, who was a heavily involved partner in producing and releasing the video. Brandon accused Bam of having a secret deal with the distributor to make more money from it behind his back. Bam demanded an audit of the video sales from Tom Yedo and eventually sued the company for damages. Bam's parents were struggling financially prior to the release of CKY2K and were close to losing their home if they couldn't come up with $40,000 for the mortgage. According to Bam, the explosive success of CKY2K allowed him to help his parents keep their modest home, which was located across from a sewer plant. The proceeds from the video also paid for his first dream car, which was a red Ferrari Modena. Other skaters caught on to Bam's financial success after he was spotted driving his new Ferrari to local skate parks like FDR. This created a lot of jealous animosity between Bam and other local skaters. The third release in the series was CKY3, released on February 12, 2001. This again brought more lawsuits, this time over a fight scene featuring pro skater Mike Vallely. And the final release of the series was CKY4, released on November 10, 2002. CKY4 was the only CKY video release to be censored. It's a long story, so here's a screenshot of the various controversies surrounding this one. Aside from Bam Margera, two other key members of the CKY crew deserve acknowledgement for the explosive success of the videos. Brandon DiCamillo, who helped Bam write all of the skits and stunts featured in the videos, and Ryan Dunn, who was always willing to do the craziest stunts that nobody else would perform. Perhaps the most well-known example of Ryan Dunn's bravery was when he performed the infamous butt x-ray stunt in Jackass the movie, even after steveo refused to do it, which involved shoving a toy car up his ass and then going to a doctor for advice. Bam had a highly successful skateboarding career throughout the CKY video era. In 1997, he scored a sponsorship with Toy Machine Skateboards, and it was only the beginning. He joined the demonstration team for Element Skateboards and became well known for his ability to skate both street and transition equally well, with a particular talent for climbing walls. Bam was also chosen by Nike to spearhead their effort at producing a skateboard shoe, which would later be known as the Nike SB. They paid him $5,000 a month just to wear their shoes in public, but according to Bam, he would sometimes put fake Nike logos on his preferred brand of skate shoes while skating due to the low quality of Nike's real shoes. The Nike sponsorship was the first time that Bam started making serious money from skateboarding instead of just getting free stuff and exposure from his sponsors. Bam's professional skateboarding career kept him clean and sober throughout his teenage years. This was due to the fact that abusing any kind of drugs or alcohol would have affected his balance and his skating, so he chose to abstain from all of it until later in life. Bam Margera was featured in a large number of skate videos during his professional career in the 1990s and early 2000s, presented by companies like Audio, Transworld, 411, and many others. However, he is still mostly known for his involvement in the highly successful CKY Video Series from this time period. The CKY stunts got crazier and crazier as time went on, such as when Bam rented a car just to destroy it on camera, or how he woke up his father by urinating directly into his face. Bam's style of pranking his parents was an idea ripped off from 1990s MTV legend Tom Green, but taken to the absolute extreme. Tom also came up with the idea of the old man makeup skit way before Jackass did, but that's a story for another video. The extreme underground success of the CKY videos eventually brought Bam and his crew to the attention of future film producer and director Jeff Tremaine, who was in the process of putting together a new stunt and prank television show based on a project he was already involved with known as Big Brother. Jeff reached out to Bam and invited him over to his home, where Bam also met future Jackass partner and then aspiring actor Johnny Knoxville. Tremaine and Knoxville had already worked together putting out the Big Brother series of skate and stunt videos. They wanted to bring their style of videos to a mainstream audience, and the CKY crew were perfect partners for the project, since their style of videos and target audience of skateboarding adolescents were essentially identical. Bam granted permission to Jeff Tremaine to utilize stunt footage from his CKY2K video in a pilot that he was pitching to several cable TV networks for the new show, which would later be known as Jackass. It was at that moment when Bam Margera and his CKY crew officially became involved in the Jackass franchise. The idea for Jackass was pitched to several major networks, including FX, Comedy Central, and MTV. MTV ultimately won the bidding war for the new show, and the CKY crew began filming stunts for the newly born Jackass series. The lines between CKY and Jackass content quickly became blurry. In fact, Bam and his friends filmed the CKY3 video at the same time as filming for the Jackass series. They reserved the most controversial stuff for the CKY video because they could not air it on cable TV. The Jackass TV series officially made its MTV debut on October 1st of 2000. The show was an instant success. After the airing of the second episode, MTV experienced its highest ratings in history, drawing 2.4 million viewers among its target demographic of highly immature 12 to 34-year-olds. It wasn't long before Bam became so busy filming for Jackass that he eventually stopped attending his own skateboard events. Because, unlike the CKY Video Series, which took years of footage to create and was released on his own schedule, the corporate production schedule for MTV was extremely demanding. Chris Rabb has stated publicly that everyone was absolutely destroying their bodies at the time to keep up with the relentless pace of production that MTV required for the Jackass series. Chris has also alluded to this being the period of which heavy drug use first began for himself and other members of the crew. In May of 2000, Bam traveled to Helsinki, Finland for a skate competition. He discovered a new Finnish goth rock band called Him and went on to meet their singer Ville Valo, also known as VV. He went on to feature Him's music in many of his film projects and quickly became best friends and unofficial business partners with Valo. But Bam Margera didn't just become friends with Valo. Not only did Bam help bring Him to a new American audience, he became obsessed with Valo's rock star lifestyle and persona. Bam began mimicking Valo in many ways, even borrowing the now famous heartagram symbol that Valo designed and slapping it all over his stuff, including his own merchandise, skate decks, and even his own body. Becoming friends with VV was yet another pivotal moment in Bam's life, but not for the better. In fact, you could argue that this was essentially the beginning of his downfall. Bam has acknowledged that Valo was his first friend who engaged in the practice of day drinking, which is the habit of drinking alcohol literally all day long instead of only at night or in social gatherings. Valo's habits eventually rubbed off on Bam, who began day drinking along with him. Valo also taught Bam his secret to staying skinny like a true rock star, which was essentially to starve himself of food and only drink alcohol. According to April Margera, Bam developed the habit of secretly purging after his meals in order to stay skinny like Valo during his MTV days, also known as being bulimic. Bulimia is a serious eating disorder that involves forcefully regurgitating food to avoid gaining weight from all of the calories. Purging became a way for Bam to temporarily short-circuit his own genetics, since he was ultimately destined to become heavy-set like his father Phil and late uncle Don Vito. The Jackass TV series ran for 3 seasons and concluded around August of 2001. Bam was featured as a playable character in multiple video games of the early 2000s, beginning with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, released in 2001.
Yo, Bam here.
At the age of just 21 years old, Bam Margera was becoming a hot commodity in the film industry and seemed to have a very bright future. Bam hit the big screen with the very first box office release for the Jackass franchise. Jackass the Movie was released in 2002 as a continuation of the MTV series. It had a budget of $5 million and would go on to gross nearly $80 million worldwide. As the Jackass series ran its course, MTV had noticed the lucrative potential for Bam Margera to have his own show. so they offered him his very own Jackass spin-off series, which would later be known as Viva La Bam. Viva La Bam made its MTV debut on October 26, 2003. The title track of the show was a song called King of Rock and Roll from a band called Daniel Lioni, which of course is a side project consisting of members from Bam's favorite rock band, Him. Bam's new show featured his family along with the main CKY crew and other friends from Westchester pranking his parents and doing other various stunts and antics similar to what was featured in the CKY series. Viva La Bam changed everything. Bam Margera was no longer just another extremely talented and technical skateboarder. He was now a rock star level MTV celebrity being showered with money and praise from everyone around him. Bam purchased a new home for the second season of the show, which would later become known as Castle Bam. According to Tim Glom, Castle Bam sits on 14 acres of land and was purchased for just over $1 million. The property was purchased while Bam was in Europe, so he didn't even see it before buying it through Tim's real estate agent friend. He was now the center of attention to a national cable TV audience and given a massive budget to do whatever he wanted to do on the show. MTV gave Bam a massive budget of $300,000 per episode that he could use for whatever he wanted to, mainly for simply destroying stuff. Bam, along with his friends and his parents Phil and April, and even Bam's crazy drunk uncle Don Vito, were all thrown into the MTV primetime machine and quickly became overnight reality show celebrities. The Margera family was now America's official cool skater family, for MTV viewers at least. Viva La Bam showcased the genesis of Bam Margera's downfall. Bam's emerging struggles with alcoholism were a big part of the show that nobody seemed to talk about at the time. He was frequently seen on camera drinking or being totally intoxicated along with his friends. Broadcasting a show featuring people under the influence on camera was nothing new for MTV, which of course is the same network that is now known for the stoned antics of the Osbournes. Despite the well-documented partying, the Margera family seemed pretty normal from the outside, but was actually far from it. In fact, Bam has talked about how his uncle was a caretaker for the Castle Bam property and would stash his PCP in various places around the yard so he could use it while mowing the lawn. Drug abuse and alcoholism were rampant in Bam's inner circle throughout the filming of the Viva La Bam series. Bam eventually stopped hanging out with his pro skateboarding friends and instead surrounded himself with rock stars who all loved to party. People eventually forgot that Bam began his career as the result of being an amazing skateboarder. He became larger than life and took on the rock star lifestyle along with his infamous ego that would go on to destroy him. It wasn't long before the Margera empire continued to grow wherever it possibly could. Bam released a few of his own independent films over the years, such as Haggard the Movie, released in 2003, and the 2009 release of Mean Hags the Movie. Both of these films featured the main original CKY crew, although Chris Rabb, also known as Rabb himself, declined to participate in Mean Hags. In November of 2004, Bam launched his own radio show on Sirius XM called Radio Bam. His radio show once again featured guests and stories from the now familiar CKY crew. Radio Bam lasted all the way until 2013 and aired over 300 episodes during its lifetime. MTV's production of Viva La Bam lasted for 5 seasons and filmed 45 straight episodes without a break until Bam finally decided to take time off. Bam was once again involved in the Jackass franchise with the release of Jackass No. 2 in 2006. As part of Jackass promotional obligations, he was paid $10,000 a night to go on club tours to promote the movie. His paid appearances at clubs and bars became a huge problem because he was essentially being paid to get completely trashed every night with fans while portraying the Jackass persona. Alcohol was not Bam's only problem. During an appearance on the Dr. Phil show in 2019, he admitted to being addicted to cocaine in his mid to late 20s and also taking Adderall daily. His drug use during this time isn't much of a surprise given the fact that other members of the Jackass crew, such as Chris Rabb, have admitted to being heavily addicted to hard drugs and alcohol during the rise of the Jackass and Viva La Bam series. This actually led to Rabb eventually leaving Bam's inner circle after an unknown conflict and his own desire to become sober. In 2007, Bam was involved in another MTV spin-off miniseries called Bam's Unholy Union, which documented the planning of his wedding and marriage to childhood sweetheart Missy Rothstein. The show lasted for one season and ended after filming 9 episodes, with the final episode featuring his wedding. Bam's Unholy Union officially marked the peak of his cable TV fame. It's also reported that this was the peak of Bam's financial success, with him having earned a net worth of $45 million during his MTV era. In July of 2009, he ended up in the hospital after binge drinking for several days. It was reported that his drinking habits had worsened after filming for Bam's Unholy Union had ended. Then, in October of 2010, Bam stated on The Howard Stern Show that he and his wife lived in separate cities and only saw each other once a week. He also admitted to having girlfriends on the side, of which Missy was aware of. Unsurprisingly, Bam and Missy filed for divorce in 2012 after just 5 years of marriage. The same year, he was forced to put his skateboarding career on hold due to bone spurs and worsening alcoholism. It wasn't long before Bam would remarry, this time to Nicole Boyd, and without a TV show to document the events. He married his new wife on October 5, 2013 in Iceland. Perhaps the most destructive and traumatic event of Bam Margera's entire life occurred on June 20th of 2011 at around 3 a.m.
Fans and stars of MTV's Daredevil series Jackass are remembering Ryan Dunn.
Ryan Dunn and his passenger Zachary Hartwell were returning from a bar in West Chester, Pennsylvania, when they veered off the road and struck a tree at a very high rate of speed. Ryan's Porsche 911 GT3 burst into flames on impact, instantly killing both Ryan and Zachary. The fiery car accident was a direct result of drinking and driving. In fact, in the hours preceding Ryan's fatal crash, he posted on social media pictures of himself out drinking with friends.
I've never lost anybody that I care about.
The death of his best friend, Ryan Dunn, was the first death that Bam had ever encountered of someone very close to him. He never fully recovered from the death of his lifelong best friend, and it is clear to those around him that in a way it destroyed him. This also seems to mark the time period where Bam began having problems in a very public way. Fans became concerned in 2012 after Bam posted a picture online of himself holding a gun to a puppy's head, although at the time he claimed it was just an innocent joke. Bam was reportedly in deep denial after his MTV shows had ended, and then the death of his best friend pushed him over the edge. According to his father Phil, he believed that the MTV shows should have kept going on, so he got bored and became a horrible person as a result. It's almost as if Bam was pretending that he was still on a TV show, but now it was real life, and his downfall would take place in the public instead of on cable TV. In July of 2013, Bam Margera was arrested in Iceland for destroying a rented Toyota Land Cruiser in a drunken stupor and then fleeing the country without paying for the damages. The alleged damage occurred during a previous vacation the year before. In 2014, Bam was involved in hosting a short-lived game show called Bam's Badass Game Show. If you've never heard of the game show, then you are not alone. It was only produced for 6 episodes and has an IMDb rating of just 3.7 out of 10. In 2015, Bam was filmed being knocked out at a party after getting into a fight with a bunch of random people. Later that year, he was featured on the VH1 show Family Therapy with Dr. Jen, along with his mother, April Margera, after which he was reportedly sober for several months. Bam seemed to have a bad habit of getting drunk in public and then getting arrested for it, which had been a common pattern for him throughout the years. Such as in August of 2016, when he was photographed in Finland urinating in a public street in broad daylight and then getting carried away by police. Vice TV featured Bam on an episode of Epically Latered that aired in 2017. The episode documented how Bam had relocated to Spain in an effort to disconnect from distractions and temptation while learning to skateboard again. According to Bam, his doctors had warned him that the dehydration his body has endured from years of alcoholism had destroyed his muscles. He relocated to Spain so he could attempt relearning his skateboard tricks without other people being there to judge him. He also revealed in this episode that his then wife, Nikki Boyd, was pregnant. Then, in December of 2017, Bam welcomed his first and only son, Phoenix Wolf. Bam has claimed that the birth of Phoenix helped to save his life. He has talked about having such a bad mental breakdown that at times he no longer wanted to live, but that his son Phoenix changed that. Many fans had hoped that the birth of Phoenix would help put his life onto the right course again, but unfortunately the change was short-lived. The birth of his son didn't seem to be enough for him to clean up his life, and in 2019 he was kicked off a Southwest Airlines flight for getting drunk and berating airport police and employees. In September of 2021, Nicole Boyd filed for child custody of Phoenix, moving to limit Bam to supervised visitation rights of his son. Nicole didn't file for divorce until February of 2023, where it was revealed in legal documents that they were no longer living together as of 2021. Like with most divorces, she cited irreconcilable differences and requested financial support. Further details show that Nicole was worried about Bam being under the influence yet again after finding him, quote, behaving inappropriately around their son. And in 2022, Bam was in and out of rehab for his addiction yet again. He then fled a court-ordered rehab center and was readmitted after being found at a hotel in Deerfield Beach, Florida. Rumors of a fourth Jackass film began to surface around the year 2019, and after test filming with the original crew members, it became official. The new film would be known as Jackass Forever and was originally planned to include all of the currently living familiar faces of Jackass, including Bam Margera.
It was the second day filming Jackass already, and steveo and Knoxville are hospitalized.
However, Bam's involvement in the new film was contingent upon the requirement that he stayed sober and agreed to follow other contractual obligations. Unfortunately, he was eventually fired from production in August of 2020 after violating his contract by allegedly testing positive for Adderall, a drug that Bam claims he had been prescribed for 10 years. The final cut of Jackass Forever includes bits and pieces of clips filmed with Bam, but the vast majority of his footage was removed from the film.
Knoxville and Tremaine made me sign this, basically a death waiver.
In January of 2021, Bam posted several videos to his Instagram account where he claimed that Paramount Pictures had regarded him as a liability due to his bad public behavior. And as a result, they forced him into a wellness agreement that involved taking antidepressants, random drug testing, and other requirements. Bam claimed that his agreement with Paramount amounted to psychological torture. A month later, Bam posted yet more videos where he announced his official firing from the film, admitted to breaking his sobriety contract, and was seen crying and vomiting on camera while exhibiting other disturbing behaviors and statements. He also claimed that Jeff Tremaine, Johnny Knoxville, and Spike Jones were all collectively out to get him. All of the videos posted during this time period were promptly deleted. Things escalated in May of 2021 when Jeff Tremaine requested a temporary restraining order against Bam due to his harassment via social media. Jeff Tremaine was granted the restraining order, which included his whole family, after Margera allegedly made threats to harm them. Bam sued Knoxville, Tremaine, and others from the Jackass production team in August of 2021. He claimed damages for his contributions to the film that he was ultimately fired from, and the questionable way they got rid of him. He agreed to a private settlement and dropped the lawsuit just 8 months later. Following the settlement, Bam ruled out ever working with Jeff Tremaine or Johnny Knoxville again, although he seems to still remain friends with Steve-O.
Called and said you had
Lima called
escaped.
him, and I escaped.
As the drama surrounding Jackass Forever was still unfolding, bizarre new rumors began to swirl around on the internet that Bam Margera was secretly being held hostage by his family. The rumors also suggested that he was possibly even being taken advantage of financially. Details of the situation would later emerge when Bam made an awkward appearance on Steve-O's Wild Ride podcast, which was held back after filming for undisclosed reasons according to Steve-O, but was finally uploaded in August of 2022. Bam appeared injured, disheveled, and frustrated during his appearance on the podcast. He was clearly struggling mentally and went on various rants that were hard to follow, and at times he seemed apologetic about his bad public behavior. He explained as much as he knew about his personal situation at the time, while Steveo worked the role of an interventionalist who told him bluntly that he had serious problems with addiction and that being drunk and belligerent in public was no longer funny like it was when they were younger. During the conversation, Bam casually mentioned that he no longer has internet or phone privileges, which seemed to confirm the rumors that he was in fact no longer in control of his own life. He also mentioned that he lost control of his Instagram account after posting things that could have compromised his lawsuit over Jackass Forever. Bam seemed to indicate at the time that he was not being held hostage against his will, but oddly he claimed that he had trouble getting information about what exactly was going on with his own personal guardianship. This did little to calm his fan base, since rumors of Bam being controlled and trapped against his will had already gone viral. Bam Margera's fans were the first ones to notice that he wasn't the one posting to his official Instagram anymore. They became outraged and formed what would later become known as the Free Bam movement, demanding an end to the guardianship controlling him. However, what fans did not know at the time was that Bam's guardianship was a direct result of his own deteriorating mental health and ongoing struggles with substance abuse. It also involved other complex legal matters, such as his visitation rights with his son Phoenix and litigation going on at the time over his ouster from Jackass Forever. It was clear that Bam Margera was no longer being trusted with handling his own personal decisions. It was also rumored that he was being forced into rehab under a Florida law known as the Baker Act, which Bam confirmed. The Free Bam movement forced Steveo to publicly speak out in favor of Bam's guardianship, claiming that it was helping with Bam's sobriety efforts. The rampant internet rumors even prompted the Margera family to put out a public statement of their own. According to the official statement from the Margera family, Bam was never under a conservatorship, but rather a temporary healthcare guardianship for reasons not shared with the public. In January of 2023, Bam made another appearance on Steveo's podcast where he seemed a little healthier and more mentally focused. In this episode, he claimed that his guardianship had ended. He also revealed that on December 9th of 2022, he was pronounced dead on what also happened to be Elvis Presley's birthday. He had been suffering from COVID and ended up in the hospital after suffering from severe seizures. According to Bam, things got so bad that he was hooked up to a ventilator and unable to breathe on his own, waking up 5 days later in the hospital, not remembering what happened. He then publicly acknowledged for the first time ever that he had in fact been locked away against his will, once again confirming the Free Bam internet rumors. The healthcare guardianship forced Bam Margera into a rehab facility. He also claims that if he made any mistakes at all, he would always be sentenced to another 90 days of forced rehab. He also claimed that his forced rehab came at an eye-popping price tag of $660,000, with the Margera family only paying for about $150,000 of it, but none from Bam himself. Bam claims that he was forced to serve 1 year and 3 months total locked away in a rehab facility when he only agreed to do 90 days. He alluded to the idea of the rehab facility knowing about the money available for his treatment and using that as an excuse to keep making him stay longer and longer. He also seemed completely confused by what exactly happened during that period of time and who was paying to essentially force him to be locked away into rehab.
I can't even tell you honestly what the truth is because I hear different stories from everybody who I trust to the point where I don't even know who to trust anymore.
The case of Bam Margera's guardianship is a highly controversial topic even to this day. In fact, as of the time of this video in 2025, some of his fans still believe that he is being forced to do things against his will. The controversy is now being compared to former pop star Britney Spears, who publicly battled her own conservatorship. Hilariously, Bam Margera is now being referred to as the Britney Spears of Jackass, and even he himself has made the same comparison. His former legal guardian is a person who goes by the name of Lima. There is even a very low-rated documentary called The Curious Case of Bam that was released in January of 2025 based upon this topic. Fans of Bam seem to be split up into two groups of people: the fans who claim that the guardianship is saving his life from addiction, and the other fans who claim that it's destroying him. Unfortunately, aside from sensationalist documentaries and internet rumors, nobody knows the exact details about Bam's situation besides he and his own family. Things drastically escalated in 2023 when Bam's erratic behavior allegedly evolved into threats of violence against those close to him. On March 2, 2023, Bam was arrested for domestic violence after he allegedly kicked an unknown female. He posted a $50,000 bond the next day and was released from custody. About a month later of the same year, police were sent to Bam Margera's home after he allegedly made death threats against his own brother and then punched him in the face. He ran into the woods when police arrived, spent 3 days on the run allegedly making threatening phone calls to his own family, and then eventually turned himself in to Pennsylvania police. He publicly stated that the allegations made against him by his brother were false. Bam's brother Jess Margera tweeted about him having a meth habit, hallucinating, and yelling at people that didn't exist. In June of 2023, Bam was placed on a 5150 psychiatric hold at a Los Angeles mental health facility. This was due to him sending reportedly disturbing text messages to his family members and then displaying erratic speech and behavior when he was finally located by police. Bam was once again arrested for public intoxication and disorderly conduct. This time he faced a serious possibility of going to jail, but he was able to make a deal with the judge in exchange for a promise to commit to sobriety. In May of 2023, Bam's estranged wife, Nikki Boyd, petitioned in court for full custody of their son, Phoenix, along with a whopping $15,000 a month in child support, along with another $50,000 for legal fees. Interestingly, Boyd claimed at the time that Bam was worth $55 million. Bam argued against the separation agreement, claiming that he was never even legally married to Boyd. Bam married yet again, this time to model Danny Marie in May of 2024. He is active on Cameo and known for doing very short yet very expensive videos for his fans. In 2025, Bam's ex-roommates, the Dern brothers, uploaded an extensive tour of the notorious Castle Bam property with Bam Margera presenting the tour with Tim Glom. Interestingly, the two Viva La Bam alumni were filmed separately during the tour video, sparking speculation that the relationship might not be on the best terms anymore. In some parts of the video, Bam appears to look a little off, but whether or not he was using drugs or alcohol at the time is anyone's guess. In May of 2025, Bam was featured on the 9 Club podcast and looks shockingly better than any time in recent memory. He lost weight and appears healthier and more mentally focused. In the interview, Bam revealed that Tony Hawk had helped him get his character included in the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 video game planned for release in July of 2025 at the very last moment. But it wasn't just at the very last moment. Tony Hawk literally demanded that the deadline for the new game be pushed back until Bam's character was programmed into it. Bam met up randomly with Tony Hawk for a skate session, and after Tony noticed that his skills had improved so much, he demanded that he was included in the new game. He also expressed his continuing animosity against Jeff Tremaine and Johnny Knoxville. He claimed that Jackass Forever was supposed to be a tribute to Ryan Dunn, but that Jeff Tremaine had ruined the plans. Bam also made a new claim by blaming Johnny Knoxville for the problems that he had with his feet that were previously blamed on bone spurs. He pointed to a specific episode of Viva La Bam where Knoxville put tacks on the ground when Bam woke up and claims that the resulting injuries helped contribute to the problems that he had with his feet. He also mentioned that he had been sober for about 2 years with just one relapse, but unfortunately still does not have custody of his son Phoenix. It is very clear in this interview that although Bam has been sober and regaining his skateboard skills, he still holds extreme amounts of anger towards his former Jackass partners. However, it is also very clear that Bam has come a long way in his recovery and deserves to be recognized for it. Through a rigorous stretching regimen and the assistance of his stretch coach wife, he has managed to regain a lot of his physical abilities when it comes to skateboarding. Although these days, instead of trying to get onto a professional skateboard video, he now just posts his videos to Instagram. It is widely accepted that Bam's return to skateboarding is not only good for himself, but good for the entire industry. Some believe that the downfall of Bam Margera is the result of a cascade of events beginning at a very young age, just like many other childhood stars who reach their peak of success early on in life, while being exposed to bad habits of those around them as a result. And others believe that Bam's downfall was simply a result of bad parenting. In fact, even Phil Margera claims that the only person who ever had the nerve to yell at Bam and give him any kind of legitimate discipline was his crazy drunken brother Don Vito, who also worked as Bam's personal accountant for many years. Whatever the case may be, the long-term state of Bam Margera's mental health and sobriety is still uncertain, but seems to be going in the right direction. However, one thing is perfectly clear. The fans of Bam Margera have never given up on him. Bam is still extremely popular and highly regarded within the modern-day skateboarding community and beyond. He will always be known for being an amazingly talented and versatile skateboarder who could climb walls with zero effort, and a groundbreaking creator who helped to shape American pop culture in the early 2000s, along with the lives of millions and millions of people around the world. Those of us who grew up watching CKY, Jackass, and Viva La Bam only hope the best for him, and if guys like Brandon Novak and steveo can turn their lives around, then literally anyone can, and that includes Bam Margera.
Bam, you're always over the line.
That's what I have to do.
What are you going to do the next CKY? I'm afraid to ask.
Poop.